wellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
You're listening to A Quirky Journey, the healthy family podcast with your hosts Jo Whitten and Leah Follett. Welcome to A Quirky Journey. Join us as we share our family's journeys to good health. You'll find plenty of inspiration, tips and recipe ideas, as well as stories from everyday people who've struggled and overcome health problems and diet challenges in their own families. I'm Jo Whitten, author of the blog and book Quirky Cooking, and today I have with me my lovely friend Rachel Favilla, who is the author of Real Soup for the Real Soul. Hi Rachel.
Hey Jo, how are you?
I'm good. Rachel's a blogger. And obviously her blog is called Real Soup for the Real Soul. And she's also a nutritional medicine student. And she is on GAPS. And she has been on GAPS for how long?
Since Australia Day this year.
Okay. April? Something?
Yep, so about 4 months, yeah.
I'm just trying to think. My brain's not working quick enough.
No, that's fine. Oh, wait, it's June. Wait, 6 months.
Yeah,
there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really interesting episode today as Rachel talks us through why she began GAPS and also just the amazing changes she's found over the years from different ways of healing her body with food and why she needed to do it. And Rachel's only 18, but she has made so many amazing discoveries with food. She can develop recipes so well. You have some really lovely recipes, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
And she's really determined to make a difference in the world. She's very inspiring. So I hope you all find this really inspiring. I'm sure you will. And Rachel, we would love to hear your story. So maybe you just get started telling us all about, maybe if you could start with growing up, how you felt, what was the problem with your health and the things that you tried, and then go on to the GAPS. That we'd love to hear about that.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Strap
yourselves in. This is probably going to be a long, complicated, windy story, but we'll get there.
That's okay.
Okay, so growing up, I wasn't, up until about the age of 11, I was really quite healthy. I had, a few little things like all kids do. I was a swimmer, so I had ear infections. I had childhood asthma, but I grew out of that. But no major issues that were worth really picking up on. And then probably a month or 2 months after my 11th birthday, I just started experiencing these really heavy waves of anxiety and kind of depression, but mainly anxiety. And then I had heightened sensitivity, especially to touch, and I would freak out if other people touched me, if I had clothes touching me or even bedclothes, and especially around my stomach area. I had no idea why. It was so bizarre. I mean,
was
my life
was painful, or was it just sensitive?
It was just sensitive. It was like everything. I just kind of spasm if something touched me, and I couldn't. I'd always been a real touchy-feely, huggy type child. So that was really weird. And I think after about a month or so of having that just all the time, I just got exhausted and burnt out, and then I just kind of slumped into this depression and. It was so weird because I was such a happy, energetic child that it was just so out of character for me, and I'd never been even moody. So I didn't really know. No. So then that was probably just went on for about 6-7 months.
Wow.
Obviously I wasn't in the absolute depths the entire time. I had my better days and my even worse days, but I wasn't really happy or able to be my normal self. And then
Mum and your family think about all that?
I
think brothers and sisters, or
no, I'm an only child, luckily. So, but yeah, my parents were just really worried about me. They had no idea what was going on, and I lost a lot of weight because obviously I was so anxious all the time. I didn't have much of an appetite. And
did you still manage to go to school?
Yeah, well, it started. The worst of it was in the summer holidays. Probably the heat didn't help either because that just makes you feel lethargic anyway. But then I think I didn't really come out of it, but I got out of it enough when I went to school because I just did not want other people to know as much as I could because I was like, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know why I'm crying all the time. So I kind of, for 6 hours a day at school, I would
hold it all in.
Yeah, suppress it as much as I could.
Yeah.
But things
did your friends notice?
They did, but they kind of, I think, didn't talk about it with me because they could see that I was trying not to bring it up, if that makes sense. And I suppose we were only little. We were like little year sixes, so we're not going to have big heart-to-hearts about our feelings, luckily. And but anyway, I ended up moving schools because Mum just said, look, because that year too, like we got this new teacher and he was not a very nice man, and that just made everything worse. And so she was like, okay, I think you should move schools. So I moved schools, and within a month I was back to like almost normal Rachel. Like I had, obviously you don't get better straight away, but it was so much better. I made really good friends. I had a lovely teacher, and at that point, I suppose where my gut health was up to, that was enough to kind of lift me up as much as possible. And then really for the next 2 years, I thought I was okay. Like I'd have my moments, and I started getting more and more sensitive to certain foods, but it had gotten to the point, I think, where Mum was treating it more as a behavioural issue. Yeah. Because like
which most people do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd kind of realised that if I said, oh, Mum, I have a sick tummy or I'm feeling anxious, she would just kind of get annoyed. So I learnt to suppress that. And I'm not having a go at her. She had no idea.
No, that happened in our family too at first with Isaac. It was, my husband was the same because he didn't understand that it was a health issue. He thought it was just an attention-seeking thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's quite common with kids. They think, oh, come on, snap out of it. You just want attention all the time, where really there is a problem.
Absolutely, yeah. So I completely understand that. Yeah. But it got to the end of year 8 and we said, you know what, like this isn't getting better. And we realised I hadn't actually grown for about 2.5 years, and I wasn't, nothing was happening, you know, in terms of development. And we're like, well, you know, I could just be a late bloomer, but let's go to the doctor, get things checked out. So we went, and she just said, oh, yeah, well, you're a bit light. You know, maybe you just need to put on a bit of weight, and maybe that'll kickstart things. And she's like, okay, so you increase your breads and your cereals and your milks. Yeah, and so I went back to her, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not putting on weight, and I kind of feel revolting, you know. And she's like, okay, well, have you been tested for celiac? And I said, yes, we looked into that a few years ago. And she said, okay, well, maybe the test was wrong. Let's try it again because your mum's celiac. It would explain all of your symptoms and everything. So I got the blood test on the Thursday, and this was, I think, a week and a half before Christmas in 2010, just to give people a rough idea. Yeah. And then I got the blood test. I didn't think much about it. And then on the Sunday morning, I got a call from the doctor, and she said, oh, could you please come in? I don't want to talk about it on the phone, but could you please come in? And I just went into worst case scenario mode. I'm like, oh my God, I have cancer.
Oh,
like what doctor? I know, what doctor calls you on a Sunday? I must have cancer. And Mum was still in bed, and she got up. I'm like, Mum, we have to go to the doctors. There's something wrong with my bloods. And then she freaked out. Oh. And our hearts were like beating, and we went to the doctors, and it wasn't cancer, so yay.
That's good.
But she said, yeah, you've got a really advanced stage of an autoimmune disease called chronic active autoimmune inflammatory hepatitis type 1. And first I was just like, what? Like,
yeah.
Repeat that. That was a long.
How old were you? Sorry, 13?
Just turned 14.
Just turned 14, yeah.
3 months ago, yeah, at this point. So then she explained, I was like, I don't know what that is. And she's like, okay, well, yeah, because autoimmune diseases weren't, I suppose, for lack of a better word, popular back then.
Yeah.
Like they're only just starting to get out there. So I had no idea. She's like, okay, well, it means your immune system's attacking a part of your body. And for you, it's your liver. And it looks like you've had this for quite a while. And so she booked me into the hospital and said, okay, well, get a biopsy, get a few more tests just to make sure that nothing's been, you know, misinterpreted here. So I went in and, got confirmed. And it turned out, I can't remember, Mum knows, it was like a really small percentage of my liver that was still functioning. The rest had been destroyed. Anyway, so
that's scary. 14.
Yeah, I think at the time I was just so I had no idea. It was all so foreign, and yeah. Anyway, I started on I think 27 different tablets a day.
Wow.
Because it was just that advanced that I needed modern medicine to save the day, really.
Yeah.
But I think it was great that I had a diagnosis, and obviously that was causing a lot of issues. But then every little health thing that I had and had ever had was put down to that. And so everything else was kind of swept under the rug and not looked at. It was like, well, you've got a dodgy liver, you're going through a lot, you're on medications, that's the reason for everything.
Yep.
And within, I think, by about Easter time, so you think I that was a few days before Christmas. So then Easter 2011, I was just so unwell, and I'd been exercising normally and eating as healthily as I could. I'd started eating even more healthily because I wanted to look after myself better, but I was a skeleton, and I was starting to get the anxiety back and the sensate, like all the touch stuff, and my gastroenterologist, who I'd been assigned to when I got diagnosed, he just assumed I had an eating disorder, and I was trying to say, no, look, I'm not. I'm even trying to eat more, but I don't know what's happening. And it was just his training, but he wasn't holistic, and he didn't, even though he was gastroenterology, he was just looking at my liver. He didn't look at my gut or anything, and I didn't even know at that stage that it could have been the gut. I knew nothing. But anyway, and he was just like, well, if you don't put on weight, you're going to have to go into hospital and be put on a tube. And I was just like, no, I don't, like,
that's scary, yeah.
No, don't want that happening. But no matter what I did, I just kept losing, and I ended up in hospital, and I was just treated basically like I had an eating disorder. And whenever I tried to argue, they just said, oh, that's denial. And
that would have been so hard.
It was horrible, really, because just my parents, they didn't, at first they were a bit sus. They're like, but Rachel, like, eats a lot of food and this doesn't make sense. But then, the medical people were like, oh, she probably has been throwing up, or maybe she's been throwing her lunch out at school. Like, they're very good at finding these things.
They wouldn't believe you at all.
Not at all. And they just made me eat, like, so many things that I just should not have been having at that ever, but especially at that point. And then because I wasn't at school anymore, and I did get out of hospital pretty quickly. I was barely in there. I was only in there for like a week and a half, and I got the tube out after a few days because I had no problem in eating, even though I was reacting to the food. But I'm like, I react to everything anyway. I don't care. I just want this tube out. I want to go home. And so I went home, but then my gut just, at that point, like with all the medication and all that process
and all the
stress, everything
that you shouldn't have been having.
Oh dear Lord, I just started getting dizzy spells and nausea, and probably the worst thing, and the thing that sticks out the most, was I started getting hives on my legs, and to the point where I couldn't shower without getting massive. Yeah. And you know what it's like if you even have a bit of ghee, you get the really itchy legs. I just wanted to scratch my skin off, and
all night.
Yes. Oh, and at night your legs would get hot, and then you'd wake up, and it was not fun times. And so we did all the different lotions and that, and eventually towards the end of the year that went away. But for a good probably 6 months of the year, that was like a big part of my day.
Scratching your legs,
yeah, pretty much.
Putting lotions on.
I remember we had to because every time I showered, if I had hot water showers, which it was winter, so I kind of needed to, the heat would flare them up, and so we had to go out to the like Cunningham's or something, or reject shop, and buy like this massively tall bin that we could fill with cold water, and then I'd stand outside in my towel shivering with my legs. It's kind of funny.
I think that's awful in winter.
I know, but I think like now, like, it's kind of hilarious, but
that wouldn't have been at the time.
Not really, but anyway, good memories, good stories. And where was I? So then the next year, Mum was like, well, because we stopped seeing all the people at the hospital, not the gastro, but we still saw him for my liver. But the dietitian, Mum just said, she's not really helping you. Nothing seems to be working. And
so, what was your diet like at this time?
Well, I tried to be as healthy as I could be, but I was very influenced, I suppose, by what I'd been told my whole life. So I had a lot of cereals and breads, and still lots of fruit and veggies, but just too heavy on the wheat and gluten and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't have any issues with dairy, so there was lots of dairy. Probably I didn't think it was that high in processed foods, but looking back, I'm like ashamed of what it looked like.
Yeah, it's funny how you change, hey?
It is. You know better, you do better. And then so I'd got taken out of school. I did term 1 at my normal school in that year, and then I went into hospital, and then I finished doing year 9 on open access, which is like school online.
Yep. And
then the next year, Mum said, okay, because I really wanted to go to the high school that all my friends from middle school would have gone on to. But Mum said, Rach, you're a perfectionist, and I don't think that a private school setting is great for you right now. You just need to work on healing your liver and being really calm and as relaxed as you can be. So she enrolled me in the local public school, and for year 10 I loved it. Like I was so happy to be back at a school, and I made new friends, and I slowly made more and more changes that year and learnt more and more about health and nutrition. And
How did you learn? Were you just researching yourself, or?
Yeah, absolutely. But at that point, I really didn't trust any professional. Just I'd had so many bad experiences. Yeah. So it was a lot of Googling and reading books and just kind of learning to read my body a bit better. Yeah. So I got off. I didn't get off gluten, but I got off wheat. But we're mostly gluten free anyway because Mum's celiac. Switched to all organic dairy. Got off all refined sugars, all processed foods, and I felt so good, and it was amazing. It was like I didn't have hives anymore. I didn't live in fear of having hot showers or sleeping with the bedclothes on. Like life was good. But then because I was on immune suppressants, I was lucky in that I rarely get sick. I'm just one of those people that no matter how much I push myself, I don't get sick. But then being on immune suppressants, if I did get sick, it would take me a long time to get better because my immune system was really down. And at the end of the year, October 2012, Mum got a cold, and then I kind of caught it from her, and I was home for 2 weeks, but that didn't really bother me. That was kind of fun, you know. You're never going to complain being home, really. Yeah. And that was fine. I got better. I'm like, okay, this is good. I feel great again. And then I went about a week, and then I got gastro, and that it seemed like every single little bit of good that had been done that entire year just was undone in like a few days. And then I ended up reacting to dairy. I'd never reacted to dairy in my entire life.
That would have been distressing.
It was like, oh my God, like cheese, yogurt, milk, no, stop. And from then I just seemed to become more and more sensitive to everything, and I was back to being so skinny, and I'm like, oh, they're going to think they're going to call it a relapse, and they're going to everything. And then I went tenfold and just tried absolutely every little thing I could, and, you know, upped my fats even more than I already had, and just did everything. But I did that for about a year, and it was not getting any better. I had my days where it was like, or even weeks where I was like, actually, I think I'm getting a bit better. I think I've put on a bit of weight. I'm feeling good. And then it would go downhill. And probably the most embarrassing thing, I probably shouldn't even put this on a podcast, but Talisha Kendall did it too. Yes, I was listening to her podcast. I was like, yes, Talisha, Soul Sisters. My gut was so bad that I started like I stunk. I just was farting all the time, and it was like, I don't like talking about it, but it's so. But it's just what happened, and I had to
talk about it because other people go, so that can be a sign of it, and they can start working things out for themselves.
Absolutely, but it was like I stopped hanging out with my friends at school because I'm like, when we're in the science labs, I can blame it on someone's probably turned one of the gas taps on. If we're outside, we're in an industrial area, that's okay, I can do that. But it got to the point where it's like, I have to get away because they're going to start realizing it's me. It just got to a stage where I'm like, because I thought, well, I want to be a nutritionist or a naturopath. At that point, I thought I wanted to be a naturopath. Now I just want to be a nutritionist. And I'm like, if I can heal myself, I can heal anyone, because like my body is just complicated. Yeah. So
that's often how a lot of naturopaths and nutritionists start.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes it'd be nice, I think, if they just started because they're like, you know, I just wanted to be healthy. I'd be like, that's nice. No major story. But anyway, but I couldn't do it. And so I admitted defeat, and we went back to the GP. But of course she looked at my diet and she was like, where's the bread? Where's the cereal? Where's the dairy? And I tried to explain, I think I react to these foods, and I've tried a whole lot of eliminations because I react to everything. She's like, well, no wonder you're so skinny. You don't eat properly. Yeah. You know, and then she printed off dietary guidelines. She's like, this is what teenagers should be eating. I'm like, and then I tried to tell her how I felt about the dietary guidelines, and that didn't go well. And really,
you're just a kid, you don't know.
I know. That was a very frustrating time.
That was hard, yeah.
Yeah, and again, she just said, look, you shouldn't be in the kitchen. Your mum should be preparing everything. You don't know how to feed yourself. which was distressing because it was like, but cooking's like the one happy thing I've got left in my life. Like, don't take that away. But
fancy telling kids not to cook. That's terrible.
I know. I think she thought, like, in her head though, it was like, this girl is anorexic. Because again, like, I was stick thin.
Yeah.
For all, if you didn't know better, you would look at me and go, she's got issues.
Yeah. I used to get that too.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So you understand. Yeah, and that was again through the summer holidays. But at least it wasn't then distracting me from school. I'd gotten through year 11, done really well.
That's good.
And it was like, okay. And then throughout the year, though, then throughout year 12, I just argued with her as much as I could, not to be annoying, but it was like, everything you're telling me to do is just making my gut all kinds of crazy, and I'm getting anxious, and I'm not going through this for another, like, a third time, just no. And eventually I found that by cutting out all gluten, no matter what she said, I cut out gluten. I cut out all sugars, even healthy sugars, even fruit, apart from avocados.
Yeah.
And I actually started feeling really good. I wasn't losing weight anymore, which is like a world first for me.
Yes.
And by the time I turned 18, which was last September, I just said to Mum, I'm not seeing her anymore. Like, I respect that she's doing the best she can, but she makes fun of me for activating my nuts. And, you know, she didn't want to learn anything from me. She just wanted to tell me I was wrong.
Yeah.
She even I remember it was hilarious because she was like, you eat so much fat. I need to get your cholesterol and your mum's cholesterol checked. I'm like, fat's not bad. Like, coconut oil is fine. She's like, no. And then we got our results back, and she's like, okay, well, your cholesterol is high, but you've got the best ratio of good to bad that I've, like, ever seen in my practice. I'm like, well, that's coconut oil right there. But anyway, I'm not trying to have a go at her.
No, but it's good to hear that, because I think people get very hung up on someone having a degree, which it's great, and we do need to obviously go to medical practitioners and get help. But if we know it's not working, you've got to find something else.
Yeah, pretty much. So anyway, I turned 18 and I was just like, I can't see her anymore. Like, I just get anxious every time we go because I know it's just going to be this big battle, and I don't want to be like, I was just like, you know what, I'm healthy. Or at least I feel healthy for the first time in years. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. And then, just towards the end of the year, though, I was just like, you know, I haven't got things quite right, because I could feel myself starting to go backwards, and I was starting to get more reactions to foods I'd been fine with. And I was like, no, I'm not going back to square one. So I was introduced to GAPS. I heard you talking about it on the podcast you did with the Up for a Chat girls.
Oh, good.
So, and I was like, oh, well, I wonder what that was about, like a healing diet. So I ordered the GAPS book, and within 2 weeks of it arriving, I put myself on GAPS. And
it's fascinating, that book, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. And I'm such a nerd for all the science as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it. And it's amazing. And I don't find it hard. Like, when I first saw it, I'm just like, you know, like, but like, you can't have your green smoothies at first, and you can't eat fresh fruit, and what's all this? But I love it, and it's not that bad, and you kind of get used to it. And
you do really quickly. I found within a couple of weeks, it suddenly felt like, you know, once I could bring in eggs and some almond meal, then I was okay.
The first stage is a bit brutal, and
it does.
But
do you have any fruit at all now?
I have avocados, and I have like lemon juice. My body really hates sugar, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think mine does too. I find that I do react to very much sugar, and my son is really showing the same symptoms. Yeah,
and it sounds like your son, well, probably your son and me, like, I'm like a cross between the two of you. Like, I've got, you know, like, just say. So, and
it's funny though, growing up, when I was like your age, I thought it was all the dairy that was causing my problems. And then I realized that gluten was affecting me. And I cut down sugars just because it wasn't very healthy, and my naturopath told me it wasn't good for my gut, but I never cut them down very much. And I still struggled with all the histamine reactions and things. But once I went off the sugars at the start of GAPS, that's, you know, the histamine reactions for myself and my son, they stopped.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, because I always thought it was the gluten and dairy, but it must be something to do with the sugars as well.
Yeah.
What kind of reactions do you get from sugars? Besides just is it just that you go backwards?
Often I definitely, histamine's a big thing. I thought that I was always sneezing and had a blocked nose, and
Yeah,
I just
same.
thought I was just told, oh, you have really narrow passageways and your hairs go too close together in your nose, like just deal with it. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, so it's that anxiety, like racing heart, tends to happen quite a bit, and just just not feeling well, feeling a bit nauseous, which it's funny because as a kid I was you know how most kids don't like veggies but they love fruit?
Yes.
I was the complete opposite. Loved veggies, hated fruit.
So your body was telling you back then.
I know, and I hated cereal and I didn't like sandwiches.
Same.
Like I'm like, oh my God, I knew where it was at.
I felt so
like,
sick
really?
if I ate cereal.
Oh, yeah.
I never wanted it for breakfast. I always felt sick and had a headache afterwards.
I know. I always wanted like eggs or at least pancakes, because at least like, the milk and the eggs and the butter, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's funny, but yeah, I do well on pumpkin. Pumpkin's my sugar at the moment.
Same. I love pumpkin.
Yeah.
What would we do without roasted pumpkin, huh?
I don't know, or pumpkin soup. I just life would not be worth living. I don't think.
Pumpkin pancakes, do you love those?
Oh my God, they are my favourite treat ever.
So good.
Yes, I haven't actually made them for ages.
We haven't made them for a while. Now that we're able to have other things, we should get back into them.
Yeah. Oh, but my favourite thing ever on Gaps is the bone marrow from the long marrow bones.
Oh, that's good.
I'm like a savage though. It's like cave girl with the slow cooker, just like have to do that when no one else is home. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm grossing my husband out because he's always hated the very idea of anything to do with offal. And he freaks out. And when I went to Scotland just recently, even though I'm on Gaps, I thought, right, well, I have to taste haggis and I have to taste black pudding.
Yeah, back at this moment there.
So I just had one bite of each and it was so good. And he's just like shocked and horrified by anything like that. So yeah, the bone marrow thing, I don't tell him when it's in something in meals.
No, you don't tell them. That's the trick.
That's right. He did notice the 3 chicken livers in his dinner the other day and he wasn't happy.
It's actually really great. I remember my because I'd read the Gaps book, and then Mum and Phil came back from a cruise. I hadn't started Gaps yet, but I was getting more and more into that style eating.
Yeah.
And I went out and bought a whole lot of like livers and hearts, but I put them all in the Vitamix and minced them all up.
Yeah.
Made a meatloaf, and they were like, "This is so rich and tasty." And to this day, I think Mum found out it was liver, but my stepdad Phil still to this day doesn't know he ate liver and heart. So
did you mix meat in with it, or just all liver, heart?
No, I did liver and heart.
Wow.
I know, I was a bit scared.
That was brave, doing it all at once, because most people start with a little bit added to the meat.
I know, I'm very bad at that. I tend to be like, right, let's get straight into So anyway, but I was quite happy. I put lots of like garlic and stuff in with it, so that kind of masked it. But yeah, hopefully Phil doesn't. He won't listen to this. Don't worry.
So how long ago did you start Gaps now? Did you say 6 months?
It would be 6 months, because I started on Australia Day, because I'm like, then I'll remember when it's been a year. Yeah.
So did you, how long did you take for intro, or are you still on intro?
Well, I took about 2 weeks for stage 1, and then probably only 1.5 weeks stage 2, because I was really keen to get onto stage 3 and be reunited with my beloved avocado.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't bear to not have it.
Yeah, and then it didn't take me that long to get onto stage 4, because that's not really a massive jump.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm still on stage 4 because my body does not like raw vegetables at all.
Yeah.
I just feel like my insides are all scratchy, and fruit just
not good.
Not good. I don't know if I'll ever really. I'd love to get a bit of banana back. Bananas always seem to be a bit more agreeable with me.
Yep.
Out of all the fruits, so maybe I'll get that back. But I don't know about the others, and because it's winter, I'm not really in a rush to get. I've got
a lot easier to have all the slow cooked stews and soups and broths and things.
Yeah, then I'll have my fermented veggies, so I'm still getting some raw enzymes and all of that.
So can you give us a little bit of an idea what a day looks like for you with food, like breakfast, snacks, lunch?
Yeah. Well, I don't tend to snack. I tend to eat just 3 really big meals a day. So I'll get up. I'm not often hungry till about 10. So I'll bake up a massive batch of pumpkin soup with like lots of broth, lots of tallow added in, and I'll blend that all up in the Vitamix. And then lunch, I might have a different type of soup. So maybe I might make a cauliflower and onion and garlic mash and have that with sauerkraut and maybe like a homemade gaps muffin. I've got I use the same recipe as the bread on my blog. I just make it in the If You Care muffin tins.
And so what's the bread called? We'll put the link at the bottom of the post.
Oh, I think it's the one I like is Gaps Bread Take Two, and then I've got in brackets, and it's not a wrap, as in a sandwich wrap. It's a really bad joke. But anyway, I do that on my blog. I make really bad jokes.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I might have that. And then
bad jokes and good recipes. You could put that under as your subtitle.
That's a good idea.
Soup for the real soul, bad jokes and good recipes.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm just kidding.
And then dinner, I'll generally have maybe like the soft tissue from around the marrow bones with maybe like some steamed broccoli and maybe some garlic, and yeah, that's about it. Sometimes it'll be a variation of that. It'll be like I might have pumpkin soup twice and then my mash with the connective tissue, or sometimes I'll have oxtail or slow cooked lamb or some fish fried in ghee instead. So, but yeah, as long as I have my broths, my fats, my ferments,
you're
pretty
happy.
Pretty good.
And do you eat a lot of vegetables? Do you find is there a good range you can have?
I'm happy with the range I could have. Most people probably would go, oh my God, like I'm not good with nightshades. So that kind of
so you
takes
keep the tomatoes out. And
yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, like I can have broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, which I thought I hated kale until I tried it at my friend's house a few weeks ago. And I'm like, this is so good. What have I been doing?
It's the kind of thing that a lot of people eat raw in salads and smoothies, and I really don't like it like that.
No, but steamed, it's really nice.
It's like you said, it's that scratchy, it's too fibrous.
It is, yeah.
But cooked in broth, shredded up and cooked in broth, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what she did, and we had it with like a slow-cooked roast, and it was really nice. Yeah. What else? I can have, pumpkin and my sauerkraut and avocados and... Yeah, onion. I could never have onion. Onion was like my worst enemy. Yeah. But within a month of doing GAPS, I was able to have onion, which was so good because I was able to have flavour back.
Yes.
So I think compared to where I was, it's like I really don't, anything I react to, I was like, I don't care. At least I can have this and I'm good with this. So
yeah. And so you're happy to take it slowly and just add in little by little and see how you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really in no rush.
Have you found anything in the GAPS that you've tried to add in and just gone, whoa, that didn't work?
Yeah, it's funny. The yogurt, I thought I'd be okay with that from the get-go because I'd never been that bad with dairy. Apart from that time I had gastro and then I was a bit sensitive. Yeah. But then I brought it back and it wasn't too bad. It's more like if I had dairy with sugar or dairy with gluten, then that was an issue. But if I had it by itself, it was cool. So I thought, oh, that's fine. But I was just, it wasn't working, and I realised I read the book again, like I just read it all the time and try and like make sense of things, and it was like maybe you need high fat dairy rather than high protein dairy. So I switched from yogurt to sour cream, and that was the solution. So.
Actually, someone else told me they live on that fermented sour cream. So how do you make that again? Because I haven't bothered because obviously I can't eat it.
That's
not
fine.
yet. Maybe I should try it. Maybe I'd be okay.
Maybe you're like me, but you can't do ghee or butter, can you?
No, not yet.
Maybe, not yet, but you will. Yeah. We'll go with that. It's the same as the yogurt, except instead of using like a litre of milk, you use a litre of cream. Oh, yeah. And then you can use your homemade yogurt, or you can use your homemade sour cream as a starter, or you can just get a really good organic, natural, no additive whole milk yogurt from the shops and use like a third of a cup of that, and then
1 litre of cream, and just do the 24-hour.
Yeah, in the dehydrator if you have one, or just at a stable temperature. There's actually
just try a little bit.
Yeah, there's a recipe on my blog again for the yogurt and the cream. I think it's just GAPS sour cream or GAPS yogurt. It wasn't a bad joke title, that one. It was a pretty practical title. So yeah.
Okay, that's good. And what do you ever do for a treat? Do you have some kind of thing that, I know you can't have the sweets. I suppose you can't have any honey or anything in a ginger tea. Like that was my treat when I was really strict.
Oh, wow.
Do you make a sugar-free chocolate at all? Or
I haven't brought chocolate back in.
No, it took me 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, I've got, yeah, soon. I hope maybe by my birthday I'll be able to have like a raw chocolate cake
That'd
or
be
something,
nice.
like the
Yeah.
Merrymaker Sisters fat cake.
Oh.
I've seen that. It's like made with coconut and avocado and coconut cream and cacao. There's no
Oh.
sugar in it. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
that sounds good. I'm going
for
to have to find a
19,
link for that
maybe by then. Treats. It's kind of funny. I see everything I eat as a treat. Like I just love my soups and my yeah.
We just get. It's more of a cultural thing, isn't it, or a habit maybe that we want to treat every day. And I found with GAPS that was really great for my kids. The intro sort of weaned them off that idea of constantly having baking and sweets and fruit and relying on that, because we really do. You don't realize how much you have until you take it all out, and then it's like, whoa.
I know, especially because I was always underweight, so I was always eating.
Same here. I was always eating baking and things, trying to gain weight.
Exactly, and I was my biggest thing that I just probably, I don't even miss it that much now, but I just thought I was going to die without it. It was like fruit and nut butter, like pear and hazelnut butter or macadamia butter. Like, if I could have anything, it would probably be that. But yeah, no, I love cauliflower mash. That's probably like,
so do
it's so rich, and the more tallow you put into it or the more ghee you put into it, the better it is. And just stirring that through sauerkraut, that's like amazing. And I do like my GAPS muffins because I use a lot of butter in them and coconut oil, and they taste kind of like little cakes. So
which are they made with almond meal?
Yeah, I use activated almonds and just put them in the Vitamix with half a cup of melted coconut oil, half a cup of melted butter, and 6 eggs, and a cup of activated almonds, and I whiz that all up. And then you can make it into a bread or muffins. And
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Simple, very simple. I mean, the butter I would just have to replace with coconut oil probably at the
absolutely.
moment.
Or you might be able to try
macadamia oil maybe.
Yeah, or like maybe raw cacao butter if you wanted a more buttery type. Yeah, but that's what, and it says it in the recipe. I say like any type of, as long as it's a cup of fat, a cup of any nut you want, and 6 eggs. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's so simple.
I know. I love it.
That's the thing about GAPS. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, it's too hard. It's too scary. It's too overwhelming." And I'm like, actually, it is like the most simple way to cook that you can ever imagine. And I found I spent a lot more time chopping vegetables because with 6 of us, obviously,
yes,
it was constant chopping vegetables. But the actual cooking is like chuck it in and let it slow cook for hours, or something as simple as those breads that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not complicated.
No. I mean, I know later on, like if you sort of move into a more paleo kind of diet later on and you can have a lot more things, there is really that I find even now with us with about 9 months into GAPS, and we're mostly full GAPS except for me with the dairy. There's still a few things we haven't added in, I suppose. But the temptation to get complicated and to have a lot of, to be bringing back a lot more baking and sweet stuff, even if it's very healthy and it's very low sugars, you want the variation, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you can really complicate things. And I think one thing I say to people a lot, if you're trying to change to a healthier diet, especially if you're trying to do GAPS or something, just keep it so simple, and now and then make something special like some almond meal muffins or something, and don't feel like you have to be doing all these fancy paleo raw cheesecakes and things.
Yeah, I know.
That's the kind of thing that takes a bit more time, if you're mucking around with all that kind of stuff. Trying to replace all the things you used to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was not lucky, but like if you like go through my journey, like I just got to a stage where I had to be more and more concise and less. So by the time I got to GAPS, I'm like, this is easy street. Like, like really, what even is GAPS? Like, so I suppose in that way, it was a very good preparation. It wasn't like I went from one day being able to have everything to GAPS. It was like GAPS probably made things more flexible for me. Yeah.
And I think if for those of us who struggle with food intolerances, it is overwhelming when you are trying to replace everything with something else. So you're going from just 5 ingredients to make a normal loaf of bread to 12 ingredients to make a gluten-free bread.
Yeah.
And it's heaps more complicated. But then you go to Gap's bread, and what was it? 3 ingredients.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
well, I
it's
definitely
funny.
have to try that one.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have this beautiful friend, and she's just recently been diagnosed with Peyronie's disease, which is where, do you know what that is?
Yep. But go ahead and explain it.
Yeah. It's just kind of, here we go. Test how fancy I am. Not exactly sure, but I know that your body overproduces this substance that then goes out and binds to a lot of your essential nutrients, like your zinc and your iron and your B vitamins, and just depletes you. And you like have so many symptoms. Like you look at the symptoms for Peyronie's and like you kind of go, is Peyronie's even a real thing? Like according to this, everyone in the world would have Peyronie's. Like
I know.
So good. Yeah. But she tested quite high.
Depression is a very big thing, isn't it, with Peyronie's?
Yeah. And her naturopath put her on this elimination diet, and because she was like, well, you could do the elimination diet or you could do GAPS. Because she came to me, she's like, Rachel, I think I'm going to have to go on GAPS. I'm like, that's so exciting. And she's like, but I don't want to eat connective tissue. I'm like, you don't have to do that. But anyway, but her naturopath thought it might be easier, but she ended up on this she's still on this elimination diet. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like GAPS is so much more varied than this. Like she can't even eat avocado. I'm like, how are you surviving right now? And but it was just like she was the first person I'd ever met that was ever had to go through anything, or that I'd ever seen had to just change their diet so quickly. And then
that's the thing, isn't it? When people have to do it overnight because of major health issue, that's when it's scary. But for you and I, we sort of changed over years, and it kind of made it a bit easier.
Absolutely. Like we had our health scares, but at the time we were kind of walking blindly. It was like, but I don't know what else to do. So, yeah.
Wow. So do you have any advice for people who are going through these kind of gut health challenges? What would be the most important thing that you would say to them with their food and with supporting their gut health?
Okay. Well, number one is just listen to yourself. It doesn't matter what anyone else is telling you. If they're going, it's all in your head, or I don't think you're that bad, I think you're overreacting. Even if you are overreacting, better off pushing and persisting and going, no, mate, listen, there's something up, even if you're wrong, because that was where I made the mistake. I'd push and push, and then I'd be like, oh, maybe I do have anorexia, like that, if that's what they're telling me.
Doubting yourself.
Yeah, maybe it is in my head, maybe it's just stress, and seriously, it was not good. So first and foremost, listen to your body and listen to your gut, excuse the pun. And second of all, and this is something I'm still really trying to overcome, but don't feel guilty about what you used to do or what you might have done in the past that damaged your gut further, because you didn't know better.
That's right.
And if you'd known better, you would have done better. And just don't freak out. Don't focus on what you can't have. Focus on all the delicious foods that you can have.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just eat lots and lots of healing fats, because they just keep you full and make everything taste better, and you don't even feel deprived at all.
That's right. It's so true.
Yeah, don't be scared of fat. That could be like my number one. If I could just get that tattooed on my forehead, that would be fantastic. Like, seriously.
Don't be scared of good fat.
I know. Fat is your friend.
It's not the bad guy. Oh, that's good. Thank you so much, Rachel. And Rachel has been transcribing all our podcasts. Thank you so much for doing that, Rachel. And I was just saying to Rachel before we started, I'm going to try and get some kind of button up on my blog where you can click on there and go through to where the transcribed podcasts are, and you can download them and have a read. So if you're in a rush and you just want to find something that was in one of the podcasts, it's really hard to find them sometimes if you have to, whiz through a podcast trying to find something you missed. So we'll have the notes there for you. So Rachel will be taking notes on her own podcast this time. So that'll be weird.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was really good. And I find it really inspiring to see someone so young who's so switched on to their health and so switched on to wanting to get well and doing, going down the, not just giving in and saying, oh, well, I'm sick and I'm always going to be like this, because that's what a lot of people do, and all they do is medicate themselves and say, well, there's nothing else I can do. But there's a lot that you can do, and it's great that you've decided to do it and you're not giving in.
No, well, I just when you start to feel better, finally, But yeah, I'd definitely say like it's not like it's easy or that I wasn't tempted to sometimes not give in, but just what's the right word? But you start to think, am I ever going to get better? But I just want everyone to know it is possible. You're not doomed no matter what. And like with my liver disease, probably just to clarify, I'm on minimal dosage of medication now, and
sometimes you need to do both, and that's okay.
Yeah, and just but I'm working towards getting off it, and my liver, like, it was horrendously bad, and now it's virtually normal.
Wow.
But that I don't know if it was coincidence, but it wasn't until I started changing my diet that the medication started to work. Could have just been coincidence, but sorry, I just thought I'd clear that up because some people would be like, so we talked about a gut, but didn't she have an autoimmune disease? Like, yes, I do still have it, but it's much more under control.
And that's the thing. I think people need to realise that the different medical practices need to work hand in hand, so that obviously modern medicine is needed.
Oh, absolutely.
And we use modern medicine as well as natural, and so do you. And that's the thing. You can't say, I think it's best not to say, let's just use one without the other. You've sort of got to be open
be
to
holistic.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah, and find holistic practitioners, because I'm not having a go at. I probably have had bad experiences with modern medicine practitioners, orthodox practitioners, but it was just that they didn't have that holistic headset. But if you can find someone with a holistic headset, then that is probably the best way to go, because they'll have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And I meant to ask you, who are you studying your nutritional medicine through?
Endeavour College of Natural Health, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's good.
They're a fantastic college.
And is this like, do you go to college or do you do this online or?
I do a bit of both. So I try and go in as much as I can, but there's a few subjects that you can only do online, and then there's a few that just the timing doesn't work out, so I do it online. But I go in as much as I can because I like that interaction and seeing friends. And
what about for people who live remotely? Can they do it online?
You can do the entire degree online. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. You just have to come in to your nearest campus to sit your exams at the end of each semester. That's like.
And when you come out of it, is it like a degree or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's mine's a 3-year Bachelor of Health Science, and I'll come out and I'll be a certified nutritionist. Okay. And then I want to do further training to become a GAPS practitioner.
Right, that's awesome.
With Dr. Natasha. So hopefully,
I suppose you went to the Mind Forum, did you?
I didn't. I
wanted to go to.
At the end of semester, where like all assignments were due, and I had to study for exams. I wanted to so badly.
Yeah, me too. Maybe next year. Hey, we'll both be.
I'll meet you there.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who want to find an integrative doctor or medical doctor or nutritionists that are very holistic, you can go onto the Mind Foundation website, and there's a list of practitioners there that you can get some contact with all over Australia. So find someone in your area. So that'll be good. Well, thank you, Rachel.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I loved it. And everybody, thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've got any questions for Rachel, you have a Facebook page, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. So there's one for my blog, Real Soup for the Real Soul, or my personal one's Rachel Favilla. And on Instagram, I'm at Frosted Birdcage, or one word.
Just Frosted Birdcage is the name.
Yeah, sorry. There's
the little at
the start. Yeah, but just
Birdcage.
Frosted Birdcage.
Yeah. And the website is Real Soup
www.realsoupfortherealsoul.com.
Okay, .com.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you can pop over there and have a look at what Rachel's got. She's got some great recipes, and on her Facebook page she puts all sorts of inspirational things as well, and stop by and say hello and
do it.
and ask her some questions if you've got any. If you've got kids that are struggling with their health, it's great to have someone a bit younger to talk to sometimes, because adults, they just don't know stuff. No, not that Rachel's not an adult. She is an adult.
No.
But she's still close enough to teenage years to understand.
Oh, it's okay. I look about 12, so
I know. But you are a very mature 18-year-old. I don't think I've met too many in my life that are as mature and switched on as you are.
Oh, well, thank you. And if anyone, seriously, I'm happy to help, do anything I can for anyone. So just hit me up if you need anything.
Oh, you're a sweetie. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. We'd love to hear your feedback. So, pop into our Facebook pages, or you can leave a comment on the website, thewellnesscouch.com/A Quirky Journey. And we'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. And you can also check out all the other Wellness Couch podcasts. There's lots of them now. And next week, we'll have someone else to inspire you. So please come back. Thank you, Rachel. And bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.